It's the one and only Despotic. One and only Despotic. Bringing you guys another gameplay commentary. This is Elder Scrolls Online, and this is a commentary on Christmas Day. Whew. I think this is probably my first ESO commentary on Christmas Day. And I've not done a state of PvP in ESO, I think, in 5 months. I usually do them pretty much every update, and the last one I did was Somerset. So I don't know how I just forgot Wolf Hunter. Wolf Hunter? That's what it was. I forget that it was supposed to be when werewolves were going to be a thing, and that materialized into absolutely nothing. So I even saw Sorks. I don't know how I forgot that, but I even saw Sorks, magic of Sorks on the werewolves. I got jumped by those two guys, man. It's just very funny. I ultimately died, but it took them forever. But I'm here to talk about Murkmire, as some players call it Nerfmire. And you know, ZeniMax Online Studios, when they nerf things, they tend to nerf things that you really didn't think of. I don't know, as if they were doing some secret, study, and found that, hey, like in the past when Call of Duty, they would say, oh, we looked at, especially Battlefield, right? Not Battlefield, especially Vandahar. He'll look at it and say, well, we decided to buff snipers because we found out that they're not getting enough headshots. Yeah, that's because they're hitting you with body shots. But anyway, it's a little nostalgia about Call of Duty, and but let's get to this, right? So the ZeniMax Online Studios wanted to nerf speed. They wanted to nerf shields. When they somewhat buffed them instead of nerfing them. Now shields can be crit. They are now a percentage of your health, high health, and you can pump some points into max magic, which will ultimately make them a robust shield. And resistances now affect your shield. So if you got 30k resistance, you might have a shield that says it's 9k, smaller than your shield prior to Murkmire, but that shield is a lot stronger now, because you have these resistances. So I don't know if it was planned, but to me, I think the changes to shields, those changes amounted to a net positive. Now, the only negative I find when it comes to shields is pretty much healing ward. That upfront heal and the fact that you have to wait until it ends to get to heal becomes problematic, and that's where the issue comes in. That's where a lot of players who use shields run into that issue, right? You can't really rely on healing ward to be your saving grace, because if you're at execute level, execute range, and players are just peppering you with executes, especially if you're outnumbered, then that becomes a problem. You now have to start implementing kiting tactics, which are kind of frowned upon, which I honestly don't know why. If you're ranged, you should ultimately be ranging characters, and if they don't have a gap closer, it's not your fault. All right, so let's continue. Now, ZeniMax, they tend to give you a way out. So if you look at Black Rose, the new dungeon, or kind of 4-man trial, essentially you can get a resto staff that will pretty much give you a 30% increase in healing. I think healing received or healing done, one of the two. Very strong, very, very strong. You could probably use that in a STAM class, and still the heal will be amazing. So they then went ahead and wanted to nerf speed. Players weren't complaining about speed itself, but they had issues with Swift. So they nerfed Swift, then they nerfed speed pots. So if you have medicinal use and you pop a speed pot, you had 45 seconds, then it was over the cooldown. I think it's now 15 seconds, so they nerfed that. No one wanted that nerf. I just don't get that. No one wanted that nerf. If you guys hear anything in the background, it's Christmas. People are here. So no one wanted that nerfed. It was nerfed. They nerfed Dark Deal on a Magic Sword, right? I just don't get the fact that you went ahead and nerfed Dark Deal. Like, when? I mean, aside from the fact that you buffed these big groups, if you go to interrupt them when they want to get a heal, not a heal, when they want to use Jesus beam on you or what have you, you can't interrupt them again. So essentially, you made Dark Deal. If someone's, they're not in not CC, but they have CC immunity, a player can Dark Deal, and I know it's very difficult to Dark Deal, very difficult to bash Dark Deal, and then you run into these issues where you're expending stam and you still haven't interrupted it. I get that. But to go to nerf it, for what reason? I don't get it. Stam Sorks, to me, right, it's a very difficult class to play, and I don't think it needed a nerf. But all of these changes are pretty much going against Cinemax Online Studios, like original, selling point. You can play any which way you want. Like, all of these changes are in favor of these groups, right? These groups, they don't, I don't see them using speed pots. I don't see them tactically using Dark Deal. I don't see them, being able to burst players and then, get to low health and then pop a healing ward. I don't see them doing that. These are skilled players who are doing it, and like, ultimately, I think with their attempt to, not cater to a particular segment of the population, skilled players, and really cater to casual and, new players, then essentially what they have to do, they have to make it a little bit more like user-friendly, right? They've not done anything to snipe. Snipe is still a thing in this game. I don't think they will ever do anything to snipe, because I just don't get it. They made snipe the first thing that you unlock in the game on the bow bar. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that's what they did. Poison injection, where more skilled players use that, that's the last thing that you unlock. But snipe is the first thing. Think about it, right? that just boggles my mind. And then and so all of these changes have just pretty much been to the detriment of, like, small group and solo players, like to use multiple skills, use them tactically, use them in a situation where you're outnumbered, use them when you're being pressured. All of those things, like those subtle little changes, create a big issue. For example, the changes to speed pods. That 15 seconds means absolutely nothing to a group that can mount, and they always seem to be able to get on their mounts when they're chasing you, when you've yet to attack them, and you're just trying to get out of their just trying to get away. You can't mount, but they can. I can't count the amount of times that I've been chased in ESO by players being able to mount, but I'm unable to mount. So, like, all of these changes, I get it. You want to attract new players to the game, and we're already loyal customers, so we won't go anywhere. Right? It's like an addiction. We won't go anywhere. Like, there's some players who this game is it. There's nothing else about anything else that matters to them. And I know I've been talking a lot about just changes, but to me the biggest issue in this game currently, and I've done some videos on this, is performance. The performance is abysmal. It's terrible. You pretty much can't do anything. You have bar swap issues, and usually in the beginning of any update or any expansion, like you run into these issues and then they just magically go away. There's always like just one thing that you have to deal with. But now it's like a whole slew of things. Bar swapping issues, your character just freezing, skills not activating, lag to the nth power in areas where there shouldn't be any lag. I shouldn't say that. You'll be fighting one player and you're lagging. Breaking free is a journey. It's random. You don't know if you will just break free normally or if you'll break free 4 or 5 seconds later. And we've somewhat accepted it, because a lot of players, when I post these things, you hear them say, "Well, you were just pissed off. You're triggered or you're salty that you lost," when I just showed, I showed just unequivocal proof, right? That just ignore that stuff in the background. I show just clear proof that there's performance issues, but I think players have just accepted it, right? You can have a fight, a player can beat you in a lag fest, and you're just supposed to accept it, all right? And then some people say, they give it advice, well, you should do this, you should go into your routers, do these settings. But like, these weren't the issues prior to Murkmire. I mean, you had some issues, but they weren't to the point where the game is just completely unplayable, right? And I've played this game for close to 3+ years, and this is probably the worst the game has been. Can you imagine that? This game has been 3 years in its existence, and it has less players compared to when it first came out. It has less players in PvP, less players in PvE, and it's still laggy. Think about that. That should lead you to start understanding that ZeniMax Online Studios, they're not doing what it is that they're supposed to do. And they say they are, but I doubt it. They always say they're doing these secret updates to when it comes to performance, but they never show you what the specifics are. And is the game in a good place? I think it is, but their performance issues just completely drown out those changes. Anyway, it's the one only, the Sputnik. Deuces.